Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we are continuing with our discussion on Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita by Satsvarup Das Goswami. We finished until chapter 15. So we covered Prabhupada's childhood. He went to college. He joined Gandhi's movement. He met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, his guru. His always consideration was how can he serve his guru. He had no other questions for his spiritual master. The war broke out, the Second World War. Um, Srila Prabhupada was a friend of Mahatma Gandhi, so he sent a letter to Mahatma Gandhi stating that he should leave politics and help in preaching Krishna consciousness. Then we discuss about how Prabhupada moved to Jhansi and created an organization called League of Devotees. This was last class. And Srila Prabhupada was able to initiated his first disciple, Prabhakar Acharya. And he had big plans to make it an international organization to follow the footsteps of his spiritual master. His instruction was to preach in English. So he was trying to do that here in the League of Devotees in the Jhansi, but then um, the governor's wife had other plans for the building. So though Prabhupada had paid an advance for the building, it had to be handed over because the governor's wife wanted to have women's gathering there and did not allow Prabhupada to continue. So Prabhupada then left for Vrindavan. He used to go to New Delhi, where he used to publish the Back to Godhead magazines. So he used to write himself, he used to edit, he used to go to the publisher, even at times send the paper for the publishing. And he used to be the one, after getting it printed, distributing it in the hot sun. So he used to do a lot of service. And there were times when he fainted. um, Srila Prabhupada fainted because of the heat. Hare Krishna, Nitinji has joined. Welcome. We are discussing what we already covered so far. So, um, so Srila Prabhupada was preaching in New Delhi by printing his magazine called Back to Godhead, which he used to do everything by himself. And he was doing so much of a difficult job because he used to write, edit, print, and then even distribute it in the hot sun in Delhi. So one time he fainted. Another time, a bull actually chased him and poked him, and he had to end up in the hospital. But he never left hope of continuing to serve his spiritual master by spreading the word of Krishna through his magazine. So then he became a resident of Vrindavan. He was staying in a temple called Vamshi Gopal. Then he got an invitation to go to Radha Damodar temple, where he could see the Bhajan Kutir and also the Samadhi Mandir of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is the great preacher, and all Vaishnavas in this line are called Rupanugas because this wonderful preacher told us how to follow in the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and become good devotees of Krishna. So he was seeing the Samadhi Mandir and writing his Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam that we covered, he actually finished the first canto in 3 volumes. So he wrote the translations. Srila Prabhupada then published the 3 books, and because of that, he was able to, give it to the Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, and he got a lot of accolades from that. Um, so it was never done before, translating the Sanskrit Srimad Bhagavatam to English, word by word translation and commentary. Hare Krishna, we have Meenakshi ji joining. Hari Bol. So we're just discussing what we covered so far. So we covered what Prabhupada did in India. So final thing he did was to publish the first three volumes of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he wanted to really go to America to spread this message of Krishna consciousness, because Prabhupada always considered the whole world, whole earth, to be Vasudeva Kudumbakam. So every soul, the real identity of every person is soul. Doesn't matter American or Indian or African. It's all everybody is just in a body, but everybody is actually a soul. So the true identity is that of a soul. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to bring Krishna consciousness to the Western world. So he was looking for a way to come to America, and he had no money. And he used to ask, he was trying to sell his books and make money, but he wasn't getting enough money. And then he met a businesswoman called Sumati Muraji, who said she has cargo ships going to America. It takes 35 days to reach, but there's a one room that they can give Srila Prabhupada as complimentary, because he's such a great devotee, and he wants to make devotees in America. So um, he started his journey. He just had a bag and an umbrella, but then when the ship left Calcutta and then came around India all the way to Kochi port, that's where his big two trunks of Srimad Bhagavatam, 200 sets of those three volumes got loaded. And Srila Prabhupada um, now said, Srimad Bhagavatam is going to America. And he always considered himself insignificant. And Srimad Bhagavatam is, of course, the book form of Krishna. So he was getting a lot of confidence, though he was going out of his country for the first time. He has never been in an airplane, never been in a ship. This is the first time he was going. So he got on that ship, and then he started traveling. And in the ship, because of the tossing and turning of the waves, he was not feeling well. He could not eat. Went through. He even got two heart attacks while he was in the ship. But then he started recovering and started eating food again. And they served vegetarian food for Srila Prabhupada. So he was able to sustain himself. And finally, he reached America, uh, 1965, September 17th, in the port of New York. And then from there, he took a bus to Butler, Pennsylvania. Um, Butler, Pennsylvania, there was an Agarwal family who was hosting him. So Mr. Agarwal's father had met Srila Prabhupada and told, my son will take care of you for a month. So he was the one sponsoring Srila Prabhupada. So that's why he went to his sponsor's home. And this Indian man's son, Mr. Agarwal, had an American wife, a white body, and her name was Sally. So Sally Agarwal. And we know that, if you're not born and raised in India, you don't like swamis and all coming. But Sally Agarwal agreed that Srila Prabhupada can stay. And Srila Prabhupada stayed with them, and he was cooking for himself. And then because the apartment was so small, he was going to sleep in the YMCA close by. And I'll show you the picture of those places. It still exists today. And then after 1 month was over, Srila Prabhupada wanted to, his preaching wasn't happening in a remote place like Butler, Pennsylvania. So he wanted to move to New York, and he was able to get in touch with uh, a person who was preaching Shankaracharya's principles about Hinduism in New York City, um, Mr. Mr. Mishra. So he went to his place in New York, and while he was staying there, he was giving lectures. Then he was asked not to speak because the philosophy was slightly different. Mr. Mishra was always preaching about God is one, we are God. So that's not a bhakti philosophy, right? So bhakti philosophy is Krishna is Supreme Lord and we are just infinite semel. Like if Krishna is the sun, we are just like a small spark. So in quality, we have the same quality as the big sun, as the big every particle is like a photon. So we are like a photon and Krishna is the sun. But the Mayavadi or impersonalist philosophy is, oh, we are all gods. It's everything is only one. This world is not real. That is the philosophy of the impersonalist. But our philosophy is the world is real. God created the world for us to come and get purified because we wanted to be away from the Lord and be gods ourselves. So He made like a toy world for us here, and we can have our own house, our own car, and think that we are gods of our universe and live here. But then we are we're continuing in the cycle of life and death in this place because in this material world it's full of suffering. So the best way is to go back home, back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to, give this message, but Mishra wasn't allowing him. So then that's where we are going to discuss in the next chapter. From chapter 16, we'll go all the way to chapter 25. So how Prabhupada set up his first temple in New York City, and then who were his first disciples, and then how did he incorporate ISKCON, International Society of Krishna Consciousness, and then how did he get devotees in San Francisco? Then we'll discuss about the temple in Francisco, um, and then we can discuss about the first Ratha Yatra, and and then we also discuss about a person named Price who cheated. He couldn't cheat everybody. He cheated the disciples and tried to take money that was scarce, where Srila Prabhupada wanted to make rent a building and acquire it to make a temple. So we'll discuss all those topics today. So any questions before we start? This is our chapter number 16. We're going to start. So Srila Prabhupada, anything you want to say? Anybody? And I want to quickly show you, this is how this place looks today. This is Butler, Pennsylvania, the first apartment that Srila Prabhupada came to. This is the apartment. And then from that apartment, he used to go to sleep at this YMCA. And then he used to do some lectures there as well. And he used to cook by himself because Sally Agarwal and Mr. Agarwal used to eat meat, and Srila Prabhupada couldn't eat any of the food there. And where he was staying, could not, they couldn't have a kitchen. So he used to come here and cook the vegetables, and he would also distribute the prasadam that he prepared. So very austere and difficult life. He was living in a foreign country after coming to America. And then he was even more adventurous. If you look at the regular people, even the great sadhus in India, they are served by so many people there. They always want everything perfect in their home. Everything should like taste right. Everything should be perfect, so that they can preach the Lord's message. But here we see this sadhu who left all the comforts. Also, it is said that whoever leaves Vrindavan, they are going to not get go back home back to Godhead. But Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan and he was 70 years old, and everybody just wants to, die in Vrindavan. But he took the greatest risk by coming to America because he wanted to spread the message that his spiritual master wanted him to do. So he considered following his guru's instruction more than anything else. Um, he didn't care about what would happen to him. He just was so surrendered. So that's what we can see here. So he moved to an apartment called 307, room 307 in this building here. So initially he was in the fifth floor with Mr. Mishra, who was not allowing him to preach properly. So he thought he'll get his own place. So he got an apartment. Again, when you get a new apartment, there's no way to cook or anything. So he used to go to Dr. Mishra's place to just cook prasadam, and even Dr. Mishra was getting the benefit of eating Srila Prabhupada's prepared bhoga that he offered to the god and gave it to Dr. Mishra. So Dr. Mishra was not having good health, and his health improved by eating the wonderful prasadam made by Prabhupada. But Prabhupada used to start preaching in his room 307 that he moved to in that building, and he was giving lectures 3 times a week in that room, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And sometimes nobody used to come. Like if there's a building like this, who will come all the way up to the third floor and listen to a Swami? Like they're seeing all these stores in down, so why would anybody come up? So only the folks who used to come to Mr. or Dr. Mishra's classes, who like Srila Prabhupada, they also came to Srila Prabhupada's lecture. And sometimes nobody came, but Srila Prabhupada just had a tape recorder. He used to record his bhajans, etc. And Prabhupada always had this mood of urgency because, he's at a very old age. He had to, make the best use of his remaining years in on earth. So he always was looking to, expand as soon as possible. But he wasn't getting anybody. So then he decided that um, one day he was out. He used to take walks to make sure his health is good. He used to find flat roads, and in New York City, everything's it's like a block, streets and blocks you can walk around. So Prabhupada used to walk, and on the way back, he used to stop at some place where he could uh, buy some Indian groceries, and then he would bring it and cook it. So a very, very hard life. And he was getting money from the sale of some of his Srimad Bhagavatam sets that he had got from India. So he got an opportunity to go to a program, and then he was able to sell some books, and with that little money, he was sustaining himself, paying rent, etc., and living by himself. So and then some people from who used to go to Mishra's classes used to go to another cafe called Paradox. It was in 64 East 7th Street on the Lower East Side. And there were two other disciples, two other people there, Harvey Cohen. So Bill Epstein was the person who used to go to Mishra's classes and then went to Srila Prabhupada's classes, and he went to the Paradox restaurant and he told Harvey Cohen. So Harvey Cohen is a very important person. He's the one who later helps Prabhupada. Um, he gives his apartment to Srila Prabhupada. So let's go here. So So Harvey was always, trying to help Prabhupada. And while Prabhupada was away, one day a thief came and stole his typewriter. So he used to um, continue to, type his Srimad Bhagavatam from the second canto. He was doing that when he was not giving classes, and even that got stolen. And when he came back, this janitor said, "Oh, somebody came and stole." And Prabhupada knew it was this person, and it was this janitor itself might have stole it, but then he didn't want to, do anything at that point because he's alone. So he said he just has to look for another place. So then he moved to the studio of Harvey. So Harvey Cohen used to live in a place called the Bowery. So Bowery is a very bad place in New York City where all the bums used to come who had no work, who was always on drugs or drinking, all those kind of people. But there were many artists also, and Harvey was one of them. And he had a place at least, and he used to do his art work there. So he told Prabhupada he can live there. So so Prabhupada then moved to that apartment. But Harvey, yeah. So Harvey said he has to live with another person called David Allen, who was also favorable, who was respectful of Prabhupada. But what was happening was this person used to take drugs, this David Allen. So this is Harvey, who later became Haridas Brahmachari. So and this is a picture of the East Village, and then there is Bowery here. So um, so this is where Prabhupada was in this artist's apartment, and 94 Bowery. This is 92 Bowery. How it looks today. But it's all like really rundown buildings and very low income people and lot of crime and a lot of drugs and all that area. But Prabhupada had no choice, so he moved there, and he continued to do his preaching, and a few more people started coming to his apartment to hear his lessons. Um, So there was this person, Robert Nelson, who used to come, um, and Prabhupada was teaching them about different subjects, like all of you know, the different modes of material nature, right? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then going to he was telling them about the spiritual places in India, and actually the greatest thing about the spiritual places is having to meet spiritual people there and listen from them. So Prabhupada was stressing the need to respect and get a guru and get the knowledge from a guru. So then Prabhupada's friend he made, Robert Nelson, um, he bought him a little instrument that like a Indian harmonium that was used to during kirtan. So Prabhupada used to have class and then he used to do kirtan, and Prabhupada was very strict during class, but he was a little lenient during kirtan where everybody could dance, or if they want to do something they could. But during class he wanted everybody have their full attention on Prabhupada, even if somebody was not talking, was talking or reading a book while he was giving a lecture. Prabhupada didn't like it. He used to say, please, please, you have to listen to me with full attention, because it is important. Only if you understand the philosophy will you have faith. And if you don't have faith, you won't become a devotee. So Srila Prabhupada stressed on that. So he was training the youth the young men who wanted to, hear Prabhupada, they used to come and they were slowly getting spiritualized because Prabhupada always stressed on them taking the names of Krishna in Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada was always stressing on the power of the holy name, and he was not like most of the sannyasis we see in India. If you are a drunkard or if you are a smoker, they'll say, "Oh no, no, go away! Don't come here. We are praying to God." But Srila Prabhupada welcomed everyone and said, "Come, you just if you're doing that, you can do it, but you just chant the name of the Lord." Because Prabhupada was um, had so much faith and conviction that if somebody took the name of the Lord, they'll become purified. And that's what's going to get proved now. So many of these people, even though they were drug addicts and smokers, and going always behind the opposite gender, uh, and just spending time with them, but just because they started taking the holy names of the Lord and doing kirtan and listening to Srila Prabhupada, it started purifying them. And they even, like we see here, like this Mr. Cohen was willing to give his apartment. So because they got a taste that this is not an ordinary person and he's not a regular person. He's giving us a very important message. So there were all these young boys who were willing to give up their resources for Srila Prabhupada. So so he moved to this Harvey Cohen's place, and it's called Artist in Residence, AIR. It's called a loft where he moved. And then, what happened was he was staying with a person called David Allen. Um, Cohen told him that he can live there, but he has to make sure David also lives there. But David was he was part of the congregation, but he used to take drugs as well. So one day he got really high with his drugs and he started, came to hurt Prabhupada. And Prabhupada had to run out of that place without, having a place to go to. He went to Carl, was another person who was coming to the class, but Carl was living with his wife. Um, but he had to go to that place, and Carl then went the next day and got Prabhupada's things. Um, and David was, really in another mood because of the destructive nature of these psychedelic drugs. So you see all the hardships Prabhupada had to take to, establish. But the good thing that happened was he came to Carl, and then Carl, of course, was living with his wife, and his wife was not interested in anything the Srila Prabhupada had to do. So Carl had to, find another place for Srila Prabhupada, and then that's when they rented this very, very important property on the 26th Second Avenue. It was a storefront, and um, it was an old store, fancy store that had a title Matchless Gifts. And Srila Prabhupada really liked that name because um, because you see here Matchless Gifts. Says Matchless Gifts, Prabhupada thought, yes, this is the name. I'm actually giving a gift that is matchless. This is the best gift anybody can give is the knowledge of Krishna and Bhagavad Gita. So that way they can purify their consciousness. So Prabhupada said, okay, we'll move in here. So they finally got this place, and Srila Prabhupada, they gave a house slightly on another floor. He had to just climb the stairs and go up to a room where he could be. And the storefront became the first temple of of ISKCON in America. So um, yeah, so this everybody used to come, and there were many young boys coming, and they used to listen, and some of them became serious, and they took Prabhupada's message of no meat eating, no illicit relationships, no intoxicants, which they were doing all these things, and no gambling. So some of them were serious, and they even started living in the store, and there was a big dais for Prabhupada to come and give lectures. There were only pictures of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna there. So that's where Prabhupada used to give lectures. And Prabhupada used to cook the prasadam for everyone who came, and everybody really came just for the prasadam actually initially. And then all these young boys, some of them started taking interest, and they wanted to learn more. And some of them, they didn't have a job or anything. They were just drug addicts, so they were just wasting their life there. But then after hearing this message of Srila Prabhupada from a pure devotee, it could change their mind, and they became serious in Krishna consciousness. So you can see here, so Carl, Carol, Gunther, Mike, David, um, and Srila Prabhupada, even, he used to go to all these places where no Swami would go. He would, where, all these drug addicts um, used to congregate and just get together. He used to go there and do kirtan, and some of the people got attracted to this wonderful music, because these people, they were high on drugs, but they were all, some of them were musicians. They liked listening to music, and they thought they were having a spiritual experience by just listening to music and doing drugs. But then Srila Prabhupada was able to go there and, play a kirtan. And some of them, they never heard such music or anything, because this was the first time like they're getting an Indian experience. And because it was totally new and coming from a different world, they were really attracted, some of them. Some of them were not. The fortunate ones got, and they gave up all their bad habits and started taking Srila Prabhupada very seriously. So Srila Prabhupada said all this music that doesn't have the Lord's name is just sense gratification. Um, but he was willing to go to all these places to attract these souls. All right. Okay, so then some of the folks who are really interested in Prabhupada's message, they started staying with Prabhupada, and then they started helping Prabhupada prepare prasadam. And Prabhupada said, everything we do, we should dovetail for Krishna. So we have discussed this before, that anything material we have is just zeros, because when we leave this world, we have to leave everything. But only if we put Krishna first. Krishna is number one. If you put one before all these zeros, now all the zeros will get value, because then you're using all these zeros for Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada means by saying everyone has to dovetail their consciousness with the supreme consciousness. So that's Krishna consciousness, right? So, so having the right attitude. What is consciousness? It is what we think, what we desire, and what we feel. So, if all the three things are always thinking about Krishna and doing what pleases Krishna and his disciples, then we are in Krishna consciousness. Um, so it is said that we can actually do everything for Krishna, so that we can see what Prabhupada is doing. He's also having food like all these people, but he's first offering to Krishna, and singing songs. All these folks are also singing songs, but then they're not singing Krishna songs. So Srila Prabhupada established that we can use all the music, everything for Krishna. Okay. Um, so Prabhupada actually made the store owner of Matchless Gifts. It was Mr. Gardiner. And Mr. Gardiner, again, Prabhupada didn't have money for the store, but he actually gave him like a Bhagavatam set. And that was reduced from the rent and the deposit, etc. And then he even made Mr. Gardiner the trustee. So of this place, and it's somehow attracting others. So this is what we can see. And this is the tree Srila Prabhupada used to go to and chant in Tompkins Square Park in New York. If you go today and look at a picture of Tompkins, it's also called the Hare Krishna tree. It's a elm tree in that park. And this is where Prabhupada used to come do his kirtans, and everybody used to come and listen, and some of the souls got attracted to Krishna consciousness. So then you can see slowly the congregation was growing, and many uh, boys started coming. Many people came with their girlfriends, and Prabhupada made a decision that, if you have to be with your girlfriend, you have to get married. So he initiated many of the devotees and gave them um, the beads and told them how to chant, how to follow the four regulative principles, and then if they had to be um, with their girlfriend, they have to first get married. So Prabhupada even conducted wedding ceremonies in this little temple called Matchless Gifts, and then he incorporated the first time his society called ISKCON. Initially, when Prabhupada said, let's pay the legal fees and make this entity, because for the rent they're paying, they have to pay tax otherwise. So they had to establish this as a religious organization and register it. So they had to find the legal fees to do that, a lawyer to do that. But they got help. Somehow Krishna was arranging everything, and they incorporated. And when Prabhupada said, let's call it the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, because Srila Prabhupada, from his Guru Maharaj, and being such a scholar of all the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, he knew the essence of everything is your attitude, your thinking, feeling, willing. So you always have to think about the Lord. So that's why he named it Krishna Consciousness, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And when he said that, the boy said, "Oh, so it's ISKCON," and Prabhupada laughed. Oh, that's a nice sounding acronym. And actually, that's how ISKCON came into being. Um, and um, and the Westerners said, maybe we should not call it Krishna consciousness. Let's call it God consciousness, because there are many people who are Muslims and Christians, and they might, when they hear Krishna, they might think, oh, this is a very sectarian thing. But what you're preaching is for everyone, so let's make it God consciousness. But Prabhupada said, no, Krishna is the name of God. Krishna means all attractive, and he's the supreme personality of Godhead. So we need to keep the name Krishna. So that's how it didn't become International Society of God Consciousness, it became International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So the 7 purposes of International Society of Krishna Consciousness that Prabhupada wrote was, and we'll read this, and we can probably take turns to read. Um, so who would like to read number A? Yes, Nitinji.
To systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life, in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world.
Very bold, very nice. What an amazing reason to have a society, right? To have world peace. Okay, Ayana?
To propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, so Prabhupada wanted to propagate the principles coming from the spiritual books, not his own concepts, what he invented. It is all coming from an authoritative book that can be traced back to Krishna and his great devotees like Vyasadeva. Very good. Okay, Meenakshi ji.
Yes, Prabhuji. To bring the members of the society together which, with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity thus to develop the idea within the members the, and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna.
Yes, very good. So only if we come keeping Krishna at the center, we will not fight with each other, because otherwise we'll always be thinking, oh, he did this, he did that, he said this, he said that. But when we all think that we are all servants of the Lord, that will bring us all together, right? Some feedback there. Okay. It's okay, Santoshi, if you'd like to read number 4.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Oh, I think it's because both of you have the speaker on, Nitinji and Santoshji. Okay.
To
Getting
teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God, as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
very bold. Okay, very good. Number 5. Okay, I can read that. To erect for the members and for the society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of God, Krishna. Okay. Nitinji, if you could start again.
To bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and a more natural way of life.
Cool. Yes, Meenakshi ji. Or Ayana. Oh,
Okay, Prabhuji.
With a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings.
yes. So very, very nice reasons to incorporate society for everybody to come and learn about Krishna and and love each other and to read good literature. And Prabhupada even encouraged his disciples to actually write. And he actually told them that they should take over the writing of the Back to Godhead magazine. That's how we saw that how Harry Cohen was writing in the magazine. So we saw that here. So Harvey Cohen, who became Haridas Brahmachari, this is Back to Godhead magazine. He had written this poem. I got those. I got those samsara blues, thinking good or bad, win or lose. All that smoking and taking meth just turn the wheel of birth and death. I'll never attain liberation by more sense gratification. LSD and marijuana won't get me to nirvana, and meditation on the void only gets me paranoid. Remembering I am not this body, telling her I am brahmachari, there is really nothing to control cause I am eternal spirit soul, fixed up in Krishna consciousness. Who cares about Maya-ness? So forget that Uncle Sam thing. just keep chanting, chanting, chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In material entanglement, what calm? No? A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Krishna chases away those samsara blues. That's what I said. So we see how a person who is completely, had no idea about Krishna and any of the philosophy, l- coming in touch with a pure devotee, listening to him, and then even writing these poems that preaches the Krishna conscious movement. So the most difficult thing is to uh, make a person understand and change what they believe in. So just see how this pure devotee was able to come and change what what people believed in, because he was giving the true thing. Otherwise, how can anybody, like come and talk to you and just make you do something else, something so different from what you know in America. So all these wonderful people who took advantage of being in the association of a pure devotee was able to take up Krishna consciousness. And they were started writing the Back to Godhead magazines. Prabhupada was teaching them how to cook dal, rice, sabji, and they used to help so that they could feed all the people who used to visit. And anybody used to come. There were people who, while Prabhupada was lecturing, who used to stand up and start shouting or doing something because they were high on drugs. But Srila Prabhupada used to be very patient with them, try to tell them, give sense to them. And sometimes, devotees had to send those people out because they were creating too much of a ruckus. So Prabhupada taught everybody how to put tilak. So when a devotee takes a shower, they take this chandanam, or they take the clay from Vrindavan, and what they do is they wet it, and then they put the chandanam or the clay in 12 places of the body. So that's what you see. What I'm wearing here is called a tilak, and it is actually represents the foot of Krishna. So we are all at Krishna's lotus feet serving him. So we have to draw this like this. So this is called, Prabhupada is teaching them this. So this is, you say a mantra also when you do that. You say Keshavaya Namah, and then you put this. And then you go to your belly button and do Sri Narayanaya Namah, and then you put one there. Then you put one on your chest, Sri Madhavaya Namaha, and then you come to the neck, you put Sri Govindaya Namaha. Then you go to your right, and on the side you do Vishnave Namaha, Madhusudanaya Namaha, Trivikramaya Namaha. Then you come to the left side, and you got to do your left side with your right hand. You can do Sri Vamanaya Namaha, Sri Sridharaya Namaha, Sri Rishikeshaya Namaha. Then you do Padmanabhaya Namaha. And then on your waist, on the bottom, you say Damodaraya Namaha. And then you say Vasudevaya Namaha on your head. And so you do 12 places you put the tilak. So he taught all these to all the boys who were serious and interested and staying with him. And some of them were working. They used to work during the day and then come back and hear the lectures in the evenings. And then they even used to, some of them were living there and working, and they used to give the money for Srila Prabhupada's, to pay the rent and all that. And so slowly the organization was growing. So then we can see here um, how these little boys, they became great devotees of the Lord. So um, this is Satswarupa Das, and his name was Steve before. this young boy, he's the one who's writing this biography of Srila Prabhupada. And he still lives in Albany, Stuyvesant Falls. I have gone to his ashram and visited him and had lunch with him. And then this is Michael Grant, who's actually will help Srila Prabhupada build a temple or have a congregation in San Francisco. So after New York, then it's because of Michael Grant that ISKCON spread to the West Coast. And he's there even today. He's 80 odd years old. His name is Mukunda Goswami. And then this is Kirtanananda or Keith in his young days. And then he used to cook in the Matchless Gifts store. And similarly, there are many devotees. Like Hayagriva was the one who was editing and reading Srila Prabhupada's writing because he was an English professor. So many devotees. And this is the initiation ceremony that Srila Prabhupada did, and gave them all spiritual names. Now, some of them didn't follow and left the organization, but at that time Prabhupada couldn't wait. So with just a few months watching them and making sure they're following the regulative principles, he made them take the vows and gave them beads. So Prabhupada was taking a risk that he was initiating some of the folks who didn't follow after even getting their name, but then some of them did. So he took that risk. And then he also had a message for these people who really like drugs like LSD and all that. They're called acid heads or bohemians, just so that they can understand this message was stay high forever, because they take these drugs to get high, and they'll get tipsy, and they forget about their worries in this world. So Prabhupada said, you don't have to take drugs, you can be higher, and it's called something called, they say it's called re-entry. So once they go high taking these drugs, they are in a different state of mind. But after that, once the drug wears out, they it's called they are re-entering into reality, and then they have a hangover, and it is a headache and all these hallucinations and all that. So Prabhupada, in order to relate to these people, he said, Krishna consciousness gives you a higher high, and you'll never come down, just like the drugs. Prabhupada had never taken drugs, but Prabhupada was clearly in higher consciousness all the time, because he's always thinking of Krishna. So he that's how he related to these people who were taking drugs, and and they wanted to try Krishna consciousness. And when they tried Krishna consciousness and they were listening to Srila Prabhupada, they understood that they really like Srila Prabhupada, so they were just following that and trying it out. And some of them took that and gave up all their bad habits. Yes. Okay, so these are the names that Prabhupada gave at initiating. Keith became Kirtanananda, Steve became Satswarupa, Bruce became Brahmananda, and Chuck became Achyutananda. And this was all happened on Srimati Radharani's appearance day, Radhashtami, that initiation ceremony. So then he used to get his group, go to Washington Square Park, and he used to invite everybody to come chant. So even though people were smoking there, they got attracted by the music, and they started singing. And many more people started coming to the store, and they're hearing lectures and slowly getting purified. And then what happened was, it was time. So we he talked about um, Michael Grant, who went to California, and he he established a little storefront there among all the hippies there. So hippies were people who used to grow a lot of hair and who used to do drugs and who were carefree of the rules of the world. And there was a big following of such people there. So Michael went there and he rented a place and he called Prabhupada, please come to San Francisco. So Prabhupada took the air ticket and flew, and this was the first time Srila Prabhupada was getting on an airplane. Remember, he came to America on a ship. So this is the first time he was traveling from New York to San Francisco. And Prabhupada was all the time chanting. There was one more devotee, one Ranchor, came with Prabhupada all the way. And he was telling Ranchor, hey, you see, um, all these buildings, as you go up in the plane, these big buildings look like small matchboxes. And so Prabhupada was saying that we are living in a world and we think like the whole world revolves around us, but we are so insignificant. When we go up in a plane, we see all these people living in little houses. And so for God, all these material things are so insignificant. For him, the relationship that one has with God is most important for him. So he was, Prabhupada, a great devotee. When he sees little things, he can connect that to the Lord. So even while flying, he was thinking, in his first flight, he's thinking how, small everybody's world is. They're living in little matchbox houses. So then, when Prabhupada landed in San Francisco, there were already many folks who had heard about Prabhupada, and they came to, uh, go take him to the place that they had rented, and the devotees in New York were very unhappy that Prabhupada was going. They were wondering how can they continue without Prabhupada. They were pretty new, but then Prabhupada empowered them to continue their chanting and their classes and all that and the kirtan, and they were continuing there. And then Prabhupada was also looking for a bigger place in New York, and that's where there's this man called Price. He came and called Prabhupada Your Excellency, but he was trying to act really respectful, but he was a cheat, and he took $1,000 from this Brahmananda, and um, and then he said he'll get a building for them. He asked for more money. He asked for $5,000. So when Prabhupada was here in San Francisco, he they gave $5,000 also. This was like all their savings, and then they said within 1 month, if you don't pay $20,000, your $6,000 is gone. So, so clearly they couldn't make $20,000. So he was cheating the boys there, and Srila Prabhupada had to intervene, even though he was coming from another country and he didn't know the legal system here. He wrote some letters to this person, Price, and he told him that he's going to the lawyer. And then he'll show that he's a fraud because Cohen, this Swami was sorry this Price was saying that, oh, you just have to pay 5,000, rest I will put the money with my rich friend here, and they're going to donate the building and all that. But then he was actually cheating. But then Prabhupada had to intervene and help recover some money back. So they got $4,000 back. This happens when Prabhupada comes back. But let's just discuss about what Prabhupada did in San Francisco. He went there. He went to this big program for the hippies called, and it was called the Mantra Rock Dance. So this was the poster from that day, where all these great musicians come who are just doing like music, American music. But Srila Prabhupada, when he walked in, everybody, gave room for him to go to the stage, and Prabhupada and some of the devotees started chanting, and everybody danced. So then, that's how the word spread that there is this great Swami who has come from India giving this great knowledge, and many devotees were formed because they came there, they saw Prabhupada, they liked it, and Prabhupada was a friend for everybody, solving all their problems, telling them what to do, what not to do, and helping them. And then they established that storefront as New Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri, we know, is in Orissa. And why did it be called Jagannath Puri? Because one day, one of the girls who Prabhupada initiated, her name was Malati Devi. And Malati Devi went to the store to buy some Indian groceries, and she saw something wooden and very beautiful with big eyes. So she brought it to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, what is this? And Prabhupada immediately stood up and fell on the ground and said, Oh, this is Krishna. His name is Jagannath. And so Prabhupada said this is a sign that we should install Jagannath deities. So Prabhupada told her to go back and get Subhadra Mata and Balram ji, and all three of them, the little dolls, wooden dolls were there. And then he had a disciple who was a carpenter. He told them to, make bigger deities, and then they installed those deities there, and that's how San Francisco Temple came to be known as New Jagannath Puri. And Prabhupada then he left. He said he has to go back to New York, but he'll come back when you hold your first Jagannath Ratha Yatra. And now, when Prabhupada went back, he was seeing that his disciples were conducting events, but their enthusiasm had gone down a little bit. But then Srila Prabhupada was um, having a little bit of problem with his heart. He, so yeah, there's one point I missed. So in Jagannath, deity was installed. And they would it was on his Guru Maharaj's birthday or appearance day. They did the installation. So then, when Prabhupada came back to New York, he got a heart attack. His heart was palpitating. So they tried to bring a doctor. A bad doctor came and said it's just a cold. But then they were trying to massage him, but Prabhupada couldn't get up, and he was feeling a pain. And Prabhupada thought he's going to leave his body. He told them to bring his guru's picture, and he was chanting the holy names of the Lord. But then they finally took him to the hospital, and the doctor said he had a mild heart attack. But then he started recovering because his disciples were massaging and praying for him. Everybody in San Francisco and New York prayed that Swamiji doesn't leave us because we don't know how to move forward without him. So actually, Krishna heard their all prayers, and Prabhupada was saved, and everybody's faith increased. And then Prabhupada said he wants to go back to India so that um, he can get cured. So now, next class we'll discuss um, about that from chapter 26, how Prabhupada went back to India. So, any questions before we go to the Kahoot quiz? Okay, let's get started. What is this? Okay, something new, but loading game pin. It's 4893373. Sorry, we went 10 minutes over, but we'll complete this soon. There are only like 15 questions. Okay, Nitinji, Meenakshi ji are on. Krishna devotee is on. Is Santoshji joining? Yes, Santoshji has joined. Okay, let's get started. Okay, first question. One should go to a sacred holy dham to take bath in all holy rivers, to hear glory of the dham and Lord's Leela from bona fide devotees, to see all important places, none of the above. Okay, very good. The most important is to meet the devotees. So when we are new, we might just go there and see the deity, but actually it is very important to meet all the devotees who are maintaining the temple. Okay, for Srila Prabhupada, music without Lord's name was not meditation. It was dash, deliverance, melody, sense gratification, worship of Krishna. Yes, it's sense gratification. Because no, anything without the Lord, Prabhupada did not like. Okay, Srila Prabhupada stressed on dash, our consciousness with supreme consciousness, merging, dovetailing, penetrating, hearing. So this is where we discuss about the ones and zeros. We don't have to, leave what we are doing. We just have to put Krishna in the center. Number one, that's Krishna, dovetailing is the right answer. Okay. What was the signboard at 26 Second Avenue which Srila Prabhupada moved to from the Bowery? Chant Hare Krishna, back to Godhead, always remember Krishna, matchless gifts. Wow, all of you got that right. That's excellent. Next time when you visit New York, you should go to this 26 Second Avenue and see this storefront. It's still there. Okay, how many purposes did Srila Prabhupada assign for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness? 7, 9, 8, or 10? So we read through this. Each of you took turns to read. Yes, there were 7. 10, there are 10 offenses to the holy names. Maybe that got confused. But the purpose of ISKCON is 7. According to Prabhupada, what does preaching mean? Glorious selfless adventure on behalf of Supreme Lord, teach a faithless person about glories of holy name, force someone to take a Bhagavad Gita, none of the above. Yes. Yeah. So the teach a faithless person of the holy name. First, you have to bring a person to the faith, then tell them about how great the holy name is. So you can attract them by being sincere yourself and showing them that, oh, you can just come and listen, um, and then you can tell the glories of the holy name else. But uh, like preaching about telling the glories of a holy name who doesn't believe in that would make them say bad things to you or the holy name, so which is aparada, right? So 10 offenses to the holy name is to give the holy name and tell about the greatness of the holy name for a person who doesn't have faith. So it's not the right answer here. Srila Prabhupada was lenient during dash and serious during dash. Kirtan lectures, Kirtan, Prasadam, lectures, Prasadam. So we discussed this. He was very serious during lectures, but he was lenient during Kirtan. Everybody could get up, walk, dance, sing. Okay, how many places do we have to apply the Vaishnava Tilak? Yes, very good. 12 places. Prabhupada taught a dancing step during Kirtan, which is widely known as the, you got to take a guess, I didn't mention in class. Prabhupada taught them how to do Vaishnava dancing also. Take a guess. They used to call Prabhupada by this name, which was Swami. So it's called Swami step because the Swami taught them the step. And another thing was, Aarti, where you ring the bell and offer fire to the Lord. And the Americans were calling it bells. Oh, we had bells this morning. So they had a name for all these events in the day. Okay, neck beads or kantimala worn by devotees around the neck were called as dash by Srila Prabhupada. Dog collar, noose, string, none of the above. Again, gotta guess because I didn't mention this in class. So this is the kantimala. It is Krishna, Prabhupada used to call it, we are Krishna's dogs. So we create wearing the collar, showing that Krishna is our owner, like a dog. So he used to call it dog collar. Okay. Srila Prabhupada called Dash as ISKCON bullets. Again, something I didn't mention. So Rasagulla, Gulab Jamun, Kaju Katli, and milk pedas. So Prabhupada taught them all of these, how to make all of these. And he even put Gulab Jamun, Gulab Jamun in a bowl and told they can eat any number, any time, you know. And he called them Krishna, ISKCON bullets because, it was offered to Krishna. When you eat the bullet, and it's like a ball. But Rasagulla is also a ball. So, yeah. But now you know, Gulab Jamun is called ISKCON bullets. And why is it called bullets? Bullets actually can kill the body of a person, but ISKCON bullets because these round balls are purifying a person, not just this life, next life also. The soul is getting purified, so it's stronger than the bullet. So it's called ISKCON bullet. Srila Prabhupada named which place as New Jagannath Puri? New York, Butler, Pennsylvania, San Francisco, California, or Pennsylvania? Uh, yes, in San Francisco, California. That's where Mataji bought that Jagannath deity and called it New Jagannath Puri. Srila Prabhupada made a nice milk sweet on Ekadashi, which came to be known as Simply Wonderful ISKCON Bullet Sweet Dumplings, none of the above. So on Ekadashi day, you cannot eat any grains or beans. So and no dals could be used. So Prabhupada made it with sabudana or tapioca. And the Americans called it Simply Wonderful because it was so yummy. Okay, Santoshji got that right. Excellent. Which deity did Malati Devi find, which Srila Prabhupada explained as the Lord of the universe? Balagopal, Jagannath, Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar. Yes, Jagannath. That's how that temple came to be known as New Jagannath Puri. Yes, Nitinji is on top now. Last question for today. When did the first installation of Jagannath Baldev Subhadra deity was done in New Jagannath Puri temple? Appearance day of Lord Chaitanya, appearance day of Lord Krishna, appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, appearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yes, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual masters. Appearance day was when the deity got installed. Okay, let's see who's on the podium. Third place goes to Santosh ji. Second place goes to Ayana ji or Krishna devotee, and first place goes to Nitin ji. And Meenakshi ji is in a close fourth place. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, Vancha Kalpata Rupascha, Kripa Sindhupya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanepyo, Vaishnavepyo, Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, have an amazing Krishna conscious week. We'll talk next Sunday. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna,
Bol.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.